Hello, guys. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me. First of all, I will apologize for my voice. I literally had surgery 7 days ago, so I'm actually coming to you from my bedroom. But with that being said, I felt the need to honor this commitment, and I wanted to share my knowledge. So if I sound a bit drugged, as I said, I literally had surgery, 4 hour surgery, 7 days ago. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shinafi, and I am the owner or the face behind the ZyzvenNaturals brand. I am here to share a bit of my knowledge on how I went from where I was to where I am today and what you can take away from it, what you can apply to your own business. So, there is an introduction about me already, so I will just go very quickly. I was born in Jamaica. I grew up in Eastern Jamaica, in fact, in the same community as the current Miss World. Um, I grew up really, really poor, anywhere between 11 and 15 people in 2 rooms. But I overcame it. As a teenager, I endured 3.5 years of sexual abuse. And I left Jamaica as a teenager for Germany, and I've been in Sweden for a little over 2 decades. Yeah, so when I came to Sweden, ZyzvenNaturals is what I have now. However, it didn't start out like that. When I came to Sweden as a teenager, when I was attending school to learn Swedish, I noticed something that a lot of the Swedes I came in contact with were single people. And, I started communicating with them, and they were involuntary single. And that is one of those first things when you're building a business. There must be a market for that business. You're not merely supposed to be selling products or services. There must be those who need, not want, but need your service. So as a teenager, I must have been 19 at the time. I started what was the first matchmaking agency in Sweden, or international matchmaking agents, because I was living in the capital. There was a need. There was 60% of the population in the capital was single at the time. I think it still is. And that was how I started out. However, I was not naturally a business person. There was the need. It wasn't my first love. It wasn't anything like that. I just saw the need, and it was a way for me, to be honest, to make money. So 5 years later, I sold that business to one of which is the highest, the most popular dating agency online these days. So I sold that business back in I think 2005. Yeah. And then I am what you call a dual diagnosis specialist in my daytime life. So I started something else after that, home care, but not what you know as the classic foster care. Because then I realized something, I spotted a need. I realized that in Sweden, with all the wars that were going on and the amount of refugees that were coming to Sweden, there was a culture clash. The Africans, the Middle Eastern culture was a lot different. And so with this culture clash and not being in line with Swedish parental rules, a lot of the children ended up in foster care. However, when these children ended up in foster care, it was far beyond them. It was typically a 50-year-old Swedish woman. Yeah. So I started an in-house from my home. It's almost like a consultancy where the social services would place these children and their parents with me. And, it would be social training. It would be because then again, there was a need. There was a need for foster parents. It was a more high qualifications than fostering, but for the lack of a better word, there was a need for foster parents that were of immigrant background, that was successfully assimilated in the Swedish society. So I did that for 10 years and had maybe 150 people passing through my home. Then I went, as I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I do something, I make the money I want to make, and I sell it on. With foster care, I couldn't sell it, so I just phased myself out of it. I did it for 10 years, so I stopped in 2016. Then, being the entrepreneurial spirit I am, I started to assess. Here I was living in a city of 2 million people, and I was just like everybody else. And I realized that Sweden was no longer an homogeneous society. So there they were coming, these immigrants from Africa, from the Middle East, and they could not find the food that they were used to. There again, there is a need. There is a need for food. So I started out by importing online food, but I didn't have the money for that. I had bought a house by this time. I built a house by this time. So what I did, I took the orders, and I would import the food from the United Kingdom. It took like 4 days to get it here, and I would use that order to spin over and over and over until I had a business that moved from offline to a physical supermarket and Afro shop. Now, I did that, sold it off again, and 2017, I moved to Jamaica because I wanted to give my then 4 and 6 year old a Jamaican education, which I think is much better at the primary level than what they were getting here in Sweden. When I moved to Jamaica, I started the ZyzvenNaturals skincare line. It was by accident, really. I suffered previously to moving to Jamaica. I was diagnosed with alopecia. The entire middle of I was bald. I was like a 70-year-old bald man. Treatment didn't work. When I went to Jamaica, I got the same diagnosis. I got the steroids. I got everything. It just did not work for me. And I started to think, if I can find something that will help me with the very little resources I now have, because I was no longer in Sweden, I was in Jamaica, with the very little resources I had, then there must be other people that can benefit from it. So I started making herbal soaps in my kitchen in Mandeville on a budget of $100 US. When I started, no one would test the products for me. And this is what I need to say to you guys as business people. When you have decided on the business that you are going to do, you need to branch out from your network. I think within our community, regardless of the country we're from, we are conditioned to sell products and services, but we're not conditioned, we're not encouraged to leave a legacy. So for me, it wasn't when I realized that I was on to something good with ZyzvenNaturals, with my products. I wanted to leave a legacy. I wasn't satisfied. It wasn't enough for me to just sell and have this customer, have that friend, have that. Because what I should also say, I had by this time, 2017, I had my own maybe 140,000 followers on social media. So people knew who I was. So I had a natural customer base. But I wanted to move away from just offering products and services. I wanted the name ZyzvenNaturals, what I was saying, the brand, to be on everyone's lip. Now, for me, it wasn't just about making products, offering this service, doing this business. As I mentioned earlier, I had an Afro shop, so I sold a lot of products. What I realized is that as a Black woman in Sweden at the time, these products were counterproductive to my skin and my hair. Yeah. So I wanted to create something that would solve the problems a lot. Thank you, Venetia. I wanted something to solve the problem that a lot of people of color, if it's politically correct to say that, dark-skinned people had. The hyperpigmentation, the overproduction of melanin leaving the scars. I wanted to do that, but unlike what was being offered to us on the market, I wanted something without the chemical bleaching agents. And when I became successful in formulating that, being in North America at the time, in the Caribbean, I needed something, and this I want you guys to listen. I needed something that wasn't just a soap, wasn't just a cream. I needed something that stood out from everybody else that was making. And I made the conscious decision that I would not focus on sales. I wasn't going to focus on sales, because too often, a lot of us, when we start out our business, too often we are looking to make money. We are counting, we quit our day job too quickly. Because as soon as we make the first $1,000 or pounds or whatever it is, we think, oh my God, 3 weeks in a row, I am selling this amount of products. But what happened when you solve the problem and the person no longer needs your product or services? So that is why it is important to build your brand. Tell your story. By the time I was doing what I was doing, everybody on social media knew me as, I'll say this in Jamaican patois, the dry-eyed girl from St. Thomas who grew up being raped. Everybody knew me. So my brand, my story became my brand. Yeah? So I made the conscious decision that my sales were not going to be my focus point. And how do I grow the brand? How do I grow the brand without making 10,000 pounds a week? How do I do that? And I said, you know what? In all this, I am going to do good. I am going to live up to my social responsibility. I am going to help other people build their business, and through them, I wasn't going to do the multi-level marketing thing. Through them, I was going to build this ZyzvenNaturals brand. But not only that, the North American market is oversaturated. It is my biggest market. So I needed to reach out. Selling a product, I can do that on my own. Building a brand, I need the help and cooperation of other people. But I wasn't just about to use other people, because I grew up hearing that as Black people, we can't cooperate, we can't work together. So I said, I'm going to debunk that myth. In building this brand that I have, this ZyzvenNaturals brand, I am going to make ordinary Black women into business people also. I'm not going to hire them to sell for me. I am going to teach them to run a registered business. Yes, selling the products I make, but whatever they sell goes into their pocket, and that will propel my brand. And then I said, you know what? Sometimes you have to want to serve more than your community. You want to network. You want to network outside of your community. You have to know when to ask for help. And as far as I know, the UK until the 31st of December is still in the European Union. So this bit of information will be useful to you guys until the 31st of December. So I moved back to Sweden in 2018 when I was getting nowhere in Jamaica. I went to the pharmacies. I went everywhere. They wouldn't take the brand. Hi, Sinclair. They wouldn't take it. So I said, you know what? When I have a good product, I am shipping products every day to the United States, and I can't get even a family member. I can't even get a family member to buy these products. It means that my inner soul is telling me that my products need a bigger platform than the 2.8 million people in Jamaica. So I came back to Sweden. Now, as a Black woman, Black businesswoman in Sweden, I have very few role models, because we in our community, we are taught to be consumers, not producers. And that is why I said, you know what? My brand is a manufacturing company. I am going to build it as a luxury manufacturing company catering to the need of the melanated people while everyone else can use it. So I went, and this is the bit of information, as Black women, as minority business people, there is a lot of help you can get from Brussels. So I called upon Brussels and got the help. One of the first criteria, I needed to be a minority woman. I will post the links later on because you can still make use of it until the 31st of December when you formally leave the European Union. And I got them to fund me a business coach that they funded me for £10,000. I got them to fund me marketing. When I wanted to go to the trade shows, I got them to fund me half of my airfare, and I started to look. I said, you know what? We're outside of Europe and North America. There is a concentration of people who need the services or the products that I am offering. And I thought about it. Japan. So, of course, South Korea, Japan, you have a lot of expats there. You have military bases. So I got a young lady there to start her business selling the ZyzvenNaturals brand, because now the name ZyzvenNaturals will be on the lips of people in Asia. That is something I can't do on my own. I can never do that on my own. I don't speak Japanese. I don't live in Asia. Then I realized that I had a logistical problem. How do I am selling these products for £7, but it is costing me £10 to ship them to the United States, where I sell 90% of my products at the time. So what I did, I made sure I had enough distributors across the United States that whenever I got the order, I could redirect the order to them so they grow their business, but also increasing the awareness of the brand. And that is something we need to know. I never gave samples. I am infamous for never giving samples. I don't give samples. Never, ever. I've never done that. Because I see it as being disrespectful. And you have to know your worth. You have to also know that the product and the services that you are offering under your brand, because your brand is you are your brand. No matter what you say, you are your brand. You have to know that the product and the services that you offer, you have to know what they are worth, and never allow another person to devalue the worth. I will backtrack. I have given samples. They have had to pay for them. Because when I give 50 people samples, when I give 50 people, or when you give 50 people samples, that is the capital you have invested. You also, one of the things we also need when you in growing your brand, I haven't had to do that. This has been self-financed from starting with the $100 in 2018. Growing 700% in 2019. I was just with a business coach who told me that we are predicted to grow another 50% this year. However, one of the things you guys need to note, sometimes when you're self-financing or when you're doing small businesses, it is very hard to get banks to finance you. Know when it is time to let an investor in. The investor might not be able to physically help you, but two things. Either they're going to give you money or they're going to help your brand to grow. If they're coming with anything other than that, you don't need them. And in the beginning, if it is a person that is going to help to go behind you with marketing and help your brand to grow, then choose that over the money. If the person is going to get the name of your brand out there, choose that over the money. And know when not to sell. I'll share a personal story really, really quick. So last year, I had a product, my best-selling product. It's for hyperpigmentation. I noticed that a well-known Scandinavian pharmaceutical company came and made an offer to me. to buy the rights to that product. And I said, and I was in a position where I needed the money, but I said to myself, if they're offering me £10 for that product that is less than a year on the market, what can I make in 5 years from that product? It must be because they see something. So market, and stop trying to sell your product and services to people who do not need it. Do not pitch a sale to everyone you meet. Push your brand, not your product. In the first year, be realistic. Because you have something that is good doesn't mean that everyone is going to need it. And also, as small businesses, a lot of us do our businesses from our home. Be aware of the negative Nancy's and do not entertain them. Do not entertain negative Nancy's. Don't. And you know this voice in the back of your head that is telling you that you can't do it, you can't do it? Do not listen to it, because if you have self-doubt, it will manifest itself in your growth, because you cannot expect customers to believe in what you are doing if you on your own do not believe in it. You can't. And no matter what front you put on, the person you're trying to sell your services or your brand to, they will know, because it will come across to them. So let me go over what I was trying to say. In growing your brand, know your purpose. Make sure that you are selling something that is needed, not something that is wanted, not something that is a fad, something that will survive everything, including this virus going around, something that is needed. A lot of us, when we're starting out, those of us who sell products, and I have made that mistake. As I said, I didn't have any role models. I had to learn it. I got a lot of help from the European Investment Plan and all of that, but I didn't have role models. I had to learn it as I go. A lot of us who sells products, no matter what it is, if it is eyelashes, blah, 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 what we do, we have 1 million products. Focus. After about 6 months, you know what is your best-selling product or service. Choose that product or service and focus on it and build your brand around it. Have your other products and services as a complement, because it is easier to focus on 1 to 3 products or services than focusing on 20. You can build a brand, and when you have pinnacled with that one product or service, then it is time for you to add another product. A lot of us, we say, okay, if somebody doesn't buy this, they're going to buy that. Then what is your brand known for? Oh, then you're not a brand. You're that lady or that gentleman over there that sells cosmetic. You're the person over there that sells interior decorating services. You're the person over there with restaurant. But if you know that in your restaurant, you make lovely fried chicken, focus on your fried chicken, and your brand will be that lovely fried chicken. Whenever somebody comes to, and this is how it works. If your brand is known for selling fried chicken, okay, I can use my own example. ZyzvenNaturals is known for acne products, hyperpigmentation. I used to sell a lot of other products, but when it became, Caribbean people started calling it the baby body soap or whatever it was. And my brand became known for that. I could not divert from that. It was like I was typecast for fixing acne and fixing alopecia. I was typecast for that. It's the same thing. If I had not focused down and narrowed down and know that, okay, this brand does this. This is what I am known for. This is what I want the brand to be known for. I would just be another person out there making and selling cosmetics. And it's the same thing. Focus on what is making you the money. If you're like me, there's another thing that we learn in building brand and not selling products. Know when to cut your losses and move on. And that in terms even refers to those who have helped you. Dawn, please give me a check of the time because I can't see the time. Even people who help you, because we are taught, we are cultured, we're socialized to say if someone had helped me along the way, then I owe them infinite gratitude. You don't. They helped you because they wanted to help you for whatever reasons. You have to know when you no longer need that help to say, okay, you have helped me, let me move on, let me focus. Okay, I am doing this product, I'm doing this services, I'm doing this, I'm offering this service, I am making this product. This one, okay, this one is producing, this one is not producing. I know when to move. I'm going to give you another story. So I lived in a capital, I moved from a lovely newly built house in the capital of Sweden. 2 million people lives in Stockholm, to a village of 700 people. Because in moving 5 hours away, myself as a black woman in a village of 700 people, everybody would know who I was. In Stockholm, they knew me because of the foster care, but they didn't know who I was. Sometimes you have to move away from the crowd, reinvent yourself. When UPS, I've seen where UPS say, oh, she's the beauty lady. Move away. If too many people are doing what you are doing, go somewhere where they're not doing it. No risk, no rewards. If I had stayed in a capital of 2 million people where there were so many people that look like me, I would have been still selling products. But when you go online in Sweden or in Scandinavia and look for a cream or a soap, the word ZyzvenNaturals would not come up if you put in Swedish cream for dark skin. It would not come up because I would have had to be competing. And that is why I say there is a different approach. Some people are okay with just selling a product. That's fine too. But I am a mother of 3. I want to leave a legacy. And the legacy is through the brand. I do not want, if I should die tomorrow, if I'm just selling products, my business dies with me. If I have a brand, do you know how long the person who invented or started KFC might have died? But KFC is still there because it is a brand. And what is it that you want your brand to represent? Your social media behavior, your demeanor, everything you do is your brand. A lot of us, the world is a cruel place and we are judged. I get away with having my natural looks. I get away with coming with having a pimple on my face. Well, that's because, and I sell skincare because I have always been me. This is who I am. This is my brand. I am judged for it, yeah, but people know that the products or the services I offer, it speaks for itself. And you have to think in in terms of that. You also have to be prepared to deal with the disappointed customer. Not something I'm personally used to, but I have had it. Learn to deal with the customer that is disappointed. Our community, well, I don't know if it is stereotypical or if it is truth, but our community is infamous for offering very poor customer service. And that's one of the reasons why we're often told that the brands we produce are not supported, because people have this preconceived idea that the customer service is going to be poor. If something goes wrong, it is going to be poor. The follow-up is going to be poor. The customer is not always right. I will tell you that. But it does not mean that you aren't allowed to listen to what they have to say and apologize for whatever it is. You don't have to go in that defensive mode, because in the day and age of social media, that defensive mood can kill your brand. Even if you're selling products, it can kill. If you're selling products, it will kill your business. It will stop your business. But if your brand have a stereotype, if people know your brand, when somebody say, oh, I got a turmeric soap and it burnt from ZyzvenNaturals and it burnt my face. There will be 99 other people that says, there will be 99 other people that says to you that, oh, John went and fixed my washing machine, or he went and painted my house, or he offered me financial advice and it was good because the brand is out there. But if you're just selling the product and the services and it is Dawn Marie came and painted my house and she did a terrible job, then I'm sorry for Dawn Marie, because how many people knows who Dawn Marie is? How many people know that? But if the brand is out there, your loyal customers, people who have had good experience, are out there to develop it. So collaborate with others to grow your brand. Don't be afraid of competition. If your product or services stands up against the competition, think outside of the box. Get insurance. I cannot stress this enough for home-based businesses. And try to get your product and services, if you're selling products, try to get it on the shelves of other people. I am here telling you that the brand that I started in my kitchen on a budget of $100 is sold in pharmacies in the United States. It's sold in pharmacies in Jamaica. It's carried by a five-star hotel in Jamaica. Put it out there. If I was just selling a product, I would not have been able to achieve that. But it's through people speaking of the brand, because 1 million other people out there are selling a soap. But people know, okay, this soap is associated with this brand. So long after I am gone, people will still be going on to Google or whatever it is. And in growing your brand, one last thing I've learned, you cannot just depend on the social media. What happens if tomorrow morning there is no social media? And one way of growing your brand off social media, it's your customer service, it's having the product or service you have speak for yourself, and through referrals. Do not solicit the referrals. I never do. They will come to you naturally. People will go online and they will speak about it, and then they will speak to somebody about it that have the similar issues that you have solved for them. And that is why there must always be a problem that you are hoping to solve. Not a problem that you have preconceived, but a problem that you know is there. And don't be afraid of the competition, because somebody else might be offering house painting services. But when you paint the house for that person, you might just get in a conversation, know your customers, know what is it that you need to offer, a little extra. What is it that you are going to offer someone so that 10 years from now, they will remember that you were there. And that it is for me. For me, personally, if I take it, it is known that if you are a woman or a man of color, you can close your eyes and safely use the ZyzvenNaturals products, knowing that you don't have to think about the harmful chemicals. You don't have to think about the bleach, all of that stuff. For you, when I was offering services in foster care, for me, it was knowing that when a family leaves my house, they go home. They do not go to an institution. The children are not taken away. My aim was always, okay, whatever family the social services sends to Shanafi and my then ex-husband, that family will be able to be kept together. They would have learned the skills to survive in Sweden. Always, there must be a need, and there must be enough people who need it. And do not depend on families and friends. They can help you to pay the next bill, but they cannot help you to build your brand. You need to have jumbo jet wings. You need to think. Okay, like me, I can share something very, really personal. I have gone this far and I've mapped out, and I say, okay, the way I price my products is not for everyone. I need my brand to be in Africa. I am looking, what is the next, which African country have the most metropolitan demography? And that's where I look. If you are in London and you're offering broiler service, there are a million people in London offering that service. You can still live in London and commute week on to rural England and offer that service. Do not just depend on, get out of your comfort zone. Do not be afraid to tell people what you're doing without selling them something, because often a lot of customers get turned off by us because we're constantly trying to bombard them and selling them things. Let them identify and see the need. Let the motivation to have your product and services come from you. So again, I know most people here are in the UK. If you're struggling with your finances, as minorities, there is help until the 31st of December. There is help you can get from the European Union, especially if you live in rural areas, because they have this European, this Rural Development Fund. I benefited from that. So I know that. And that was one of the reasons, if I still lived in the capital, I would not have gotten it. So you have to plan and have a solid business plan. When you go to the bank, when you go to an investor, even if you're not making money at the moment, have a solid business plan that projects what you expect to make and why you expect to make it. Do not just have figures. And never ever try to sell the product. Sell you. People buy from you. People use your services because they can relate to you. I am living testimony for that. Don't be afraid of your past. Don't be afraid of your story. Don't be afraid to say, this is where I am going. This is where I intend to go. And I want to take you along the journey with me. Do not be afraid to build another person. Don't be selfish in pursuit of building your brand. Do not be afraid to have another person benefit from it. And have decent social media behavior. Be aware of what you post and how it influences your brand. Be wary of some opinions when you're in business. Some opinions we have to learn to keep to ourselves. Be aware of what you share. Think outside of the box. For those of you that are in the UK, the time is now to start to seek the collaboration with the former colonies that you know that, they're going to get the sweetheart deals with the UK. They might not have the spending power now, but it will come. It will come. Start to establish your customer line within the European Union. So the day when Britain finally says goodbye to the European Union, your brand is solid inside the European Union. So your customers are willing to pay the extra taxes to get your goods or services. No, for example, for those of you who offer household services, these are things that we pay a lot for in, for example, Scandinavia, where the VAT is 25%. Look to those markets where you can compete and still not lose. Always look for what could happen next. What is a worst case scenario? I know that because of the current virus crisis, maybe there won't be flights that will send my products to the UK or will send my products to the US. I start stockpiling and warehousing products wherever and whoever will warehouse it for me, because my customers have to know that rain, sunshine, snow, or sleet, their face or skin or hair will not go back. Focus on the brand, not the product. And remember, if you do not take anything else away, your story is your brand. So that is what I hope what I had to say was helpful to you guys. I I am always open to sharing my story, to helping the other person get to where they need to go. You can always send me a message. It seems like I'm online 24 hours. You can always send me a message if I can help. Get your insurance. If I can help, I will help. My name is somewhere there, Shanafa ZyzvenNaturals Denison. And it's not just my product, it's everywhere from people that have had the stories that I've had, the childhood sexual abuse and the abandonment. You can do it. It might seem hard, but you can do it. I'll leave you with this personal note, because sometimes when we start our business and everything seems to be going well, then something happens and then we give up. Last year, when my brand grew, or the figures grew by 700%, I lost my mother. She died in April. I got divorced in September. Through a divorce, I lost my home. Well, I didn't lose my home. I still have the home, but I couldn't live there. But guess what? In spite and despite all of that, my customers could never tell. I never lost focus on the goal, which was having ZyzvenNaturals be the go-to brand for Black people who are looking for a more refined skin and hair care product. My name is Shanafi, and thank you very much for listening.